You think you wouldn't survive the Middle Ages because of Vikings, or the plague, or a sudden case of being stepped on by a horse. Wrong. You wouldn't survive because within 5 minutes of arriving in 1340, someone would smell you coming from 3 blocks away, and they'd be absolutely disgusted. Hollywood has lied to you. They've told you the medieval world was a muddy, brown smear where no one touched water for 30 years. But the reality? Hygiene wasn't a tragedy. It was a high-stakes social battlefield. If you want to survive, you need to stop worrying about germs and start worrying about your humors. Because in this world, a dirty collar isn't just a laundry fail, it's a sign that your soul is rotting. Here is why you wouldn't last 5 minutes in the world of medieval hygiene. First things first, get that muddy peasant image out of your head. Movies tell you that people lived in filth and never bathed. Reality was closer to a culture obsessed with looking bright. See, the medieval world operated on the theory of humors. If you were dirty on the outside, it meant your internal fluids, phlegm, bile, and blood were out of balance. So, you must do one thing immediately. Find some linen. Linen is your new best friend. In a world without deodorant, linen acted like a high-tech, moisture-wicking undershirt. It pulled the wicked vapors and sweat away from your skin. If you're a peasant, you have one set. If you're a noble, you have dozens. But here's the catch. Someone is always noticing. The standard of clean wasn't your skin. It was your white edges. Your cuffs and your collar had to be blindingly white to show you were a person of status. If those edges are yellow, you're a walking red flag. You'll feel the weight of the judgment the moment you step into a tavern. And about that no bathing myth? People actually loved public bathhouses, known as stews. They were the 14th century equivalent of a spa day, complete with food, music, and, well, extracurricular activities. But wait, before you jump in, there's a problem. The church thinks these bathhouses are basically sign factories. Plot twist. The more you try to stay clean in a public tub, the more the local priest thinks you're up to no good. So, how do you keep that linen white without a washing machine? You use ingenuity and things that would make a modern chemist faint. Movies tell you laundry was just dipping clothes in a river. Reality was a chemical war zone. To get your clothes truly white, you'd use lye. How do you make lye? You soak wood ash in water, and sometimes don't gag, you use fermented human urine as a bleaching agent. Therefore, you have to spend your Saturday mornings smelling like a literal latrine just to look holy on Sunday. But let's say you've managed the laundry. Now you have a new problem. Your teeth. There's no Colgate here. Instead, you're rubbing your teeth with a chew stick made of green hazelwood and a paste made of salt and burnt herbs. It actually works surprisingly well, provided you don't mind the taste of charcoal. Here's the catch. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. You hear a bell. The local town official is walking down the street, and everyone is straightening their clothes. Bad news. You've just entered the zone of sumptuary laws. In many medieval cities, if you try to clean up too well, say, by wearing a silk veil or a certain color of bleached fabric that's above your station, you can be fined or even arrested. Hygiene isn't just health, it's a legal boundary. You have to be exactly the right amount of clean for your job. As you're scrubbing your hands, you notice a small, ornate silver toothpick hanging from a wealthy merchant's belt. Keep that in mind. In this world, the way you clean your face in public is a weapon of social combat. Now, you've been invited to a feast. This is it, the ultimate survival test. Forget the Black Death. You're about to face the etiquette of the ewer. In the Middle Ages, the meal starts with a ritual wash. A servant brings around a basin of rose-scented water. Movies tell you people just grabbed meat with dirty hands and threw bones over their shoulders. Reality was a terrifying minefield of hand-washing rules. The challenge: you are sharing a trencher, a plate made of stale bread, and a cup with a complete stranger. The stakes: if you dip your fingers into the salt cellar with the wrong hand, or if you don't wash your hands visibly in front of everyone, you aren't just gross. You are a biological threat to the person sitting next to you. Someone notices every move you make. The judgment is heavy in the air. First, the servant holds the basin. You must wash with only 3 fingers. Why? Because those are the clean fingers you'll use to touch the shared meat. Next, you feel a sneeze coming. In the modern world, you'd sneeze into your elbow. In 1340, if you do that, you've just committed social suicide. You must turn your head entirely away, sneeze into the air, and then immediately signal for a rewash. Now for the forced choice. The Lord looks at you. He offers you a piece of choice meat, but your napkin, a shared cloth, is slightly soiled. Do you wipe your hand on your expensive linen shirt, ruining your status, or use the dirty napkin and risk the judgment? You remember the silver toothpick. You produce your own small grooming kit, a sign of extreme clout. You clean your nails with a small knife, looking calm and collected. You've passed the vibe check. A movie character would be wiping grease on his beard. You are daintily patting your lips with a damp cloth because you know that greasy lips on a shared cup is the fastest way to get kicked out of the castle. You survived the feast. You kept your linen white, your teeth charcoal scrubbed, and your humors balanced. But here's the mind-blowing part. Medieval people were arguably cleaner than the people who came 300 years later. As the Renaissance arrived, people became terrified of water, believing it opened the pores to the plague. The dirty Middle Ages is actually a myth created by the Victorians to make themselves feel better. In reality, a 14th century peasant probably smelled better than a 17th century aristocrat who thought perfume was a substitute for a bath. So, did you survive? If you had the wits to manage your linen and the discipline to follow the rosewater rituals, yes. You didn't die of a germ, you lived because you mastered the art of the 14th century vibe check. Was it like this everywhere? No, but it was common enough to ruin your day if you weren't prepared. Next time you complain about your shower's water pressure, just remember, at least you don't have to bleach your underwear with wood ash and prayer. If you think you could handle the lie bucket, hit subscribe. If not, well, stay in the 21st century. It smells better here.